Our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan joins us on the show. Sandeep stays with me on this special broadcast. Geeta, you've been speaking to sources in the government. Okay, that's a statement from US President. Let's listen in.
Are they doing the briefing?
This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. What Biden did to this country can...
Okay, give me a moment. Donald Trump, US President, says congratulations both to India and Pakistan. Geeta, we heard the statement made by the Foreign Secretary, but behind the scenes, what transpired? What's the thinking? US point was that there will be conversation on other issues, but government sources saying no question on other issues. It's only the ceasefire and DGMO talks.
Well, it was a very brief statement. The Foreign Secretary walked in, made a statement and walked out, and they did it in a rush. The briefing was to start at 6 p.m. He came in a little earlier, made the statement and rushed. In all probability, Gaurav, because the United States of America woke up and started tweeting or posting it on social media before the announcement being made by India or Pakistan or the leadership of both the countries in a coordinated manner. So the United States of America certainly taking credit over here for the ceasefire. What transpired, if you ask me, and if I look at the things that have happened over the past few days, I think the clincher was not Marco Rubio talking to Ishaq Dar or, for that matter, Dr. Jaishankar alone. The clincher in this deal was Marco Rubio making that call to Asim Munir. Because like we said, the ball was in Pakistan's court. Pakistan had to de-escalate. They had to initiate the ceasefire, that they will stop, because India had to do what it had to do, and India did what it did, respond to Pahalgam. And then the statement on the fact that any act of terror will be considered an act of war was a warning and a deterrence for future, because in all probability, the statement was going to take place. What happened over here? Vikram Misri comes and says that the call was initiated by DGMO. He informed the his Indian counterpart that they're going in for a ceasefire. And that, in all probability, must have happened with all the calls. Two important countries, two important calls. One, the Saudi Arabian foreign minister calls both India and Pakistan. But before that, Marco Rubio calls the external affairs minister and the prime minister of India and Pakistan, respectively. But again, like I said, Gaurav, all these calls could have happened. The clincher certainly was Marco Rubio calling Asim Munir.
Oh, absolutely. And Sandeep, that very, very important clarification that's coming from top government sources. While America said ceasefire, fine, the Americans also seem to indicate that there would be conversations on other issues at a neutral venue. And Government of India, of course, it's again through sources saying no, only conversation is on the ceasefire for now.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Like I said earlier, the Government of India's position is very clear on talks with Pakistan. It will not resume talks with Pakistan unless there is credible evidence of Pakistan dismantling its infrastructure of terrorism, bringing all of the terrorists, all of these global terrorists that it has reared for so many decades on its soil in Punjab province to justice, or dismantle this. We need to see evidence of that happening. We need to see action on all of those terror attacks that have been carried out on Indian soil over decades. All of the masterminds of those attacks are sitting inside Pakistan. We've sent dossiers in the past, Gaurav, to convey our displeasure. Of course, those dossiers have been replaced by missiles and air-to-ground munitions now, and we are at the brink of a conflict with Pakistan, and I think it's General Asim Munir who seems to have realized that a line had been crossed when those air bases were struck, and that explains how swiftly this conflict was resolved by US intervention, Gaurav.
Because this conflict very clearly showed how vulnerable Pakistan's air defenses were, how vulnerable Pakistan's bases were. And this is a conversation that's actually happening even in Pakistan. With impunity, India was able to punch holes in Pakistan's air defense and bomb some of their bases to Stone Age.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And you know, in fact, the thing is that with Pakistan, if you've seen the pattern of conflicts that they've initiated from 1947-48, it always starts with these tactical moves that they make, either in Jammu and Kashmir in 47-48, again in 1965, in 71 in both the Eastern and Western theaters. Of course, they lost the Eastern theater after that. And of course, in Kargil in 1999. They start with these tactical moves, but they never see the plan to its fruition, to its end. They are not able to predict the end state. And the end state for them is always terrible. It either ends in a humiliating ceasefire where the general has to be, someone from the US gives the general a call and, reads the riot act to him, or it's some poor, helpless prime minister who has to bear the brunt of that, as happened with Nawaz Sharif in 1999. It never ends well for the Pakistan military, Gaurav. And, this is something that the military doesn't seem to understand. And they continue fighting, They've been doing that for nearly 80 years now. Because for the Pakistan army, Gaurav, you have to understand their mindset. Their mindset is defeat doesn't deter them. For them, the concept of defeat is when they don't fight India, they have to keep fighting, and they will keep fighting to the end, as the title of that book suggests.
And I want to bring Geeta for more on this as I bring in Piyush and Shivani also into this conversation one by one. Geeta, we've been through this playbook many times in the past. Never in the past. There's more breaking news that is coming in. Geeta, give me a moment. There's more breaking news coming in. This is India fighting Pakistani propaganda on Operation Sindoor. Now there are updates that are coming in. Geeta, I want to bring our viewers updates that are coming in. The stoppage of firing and military action between India and Pakistan was worked out directly between the two countries, is the information that is coming in. Pakistan DGMO, the Director General of Military Operations of the Pakistan Army, initiated the call at 15:35, that's 3:35 this afternoon, after which discussions took place with his Indian counterpart, and an understanding was reached. There is no decision, top government sources are telling India today, no decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place, is what government sources are telling India today. So is this some confusion as far as the Americans are concerned, or are the Americans talking more about their wish list? India and Pakistan have only agreed to a ceasefire, and India says there is no agreement, there is no conversation about resumption of dialogue with Pakistan state.
Well, Gaurav, from where I see it, was there a mediation in the first place? I mean, the United States of America is well placed over here to take credit, but to what end and to what extent? When the call came to India, it was not a mediation where the Americans, like in the past, would say, okay, this is what Pakistan is saying, this is what India is saying, let's reach a middle ground. No. India was very clear that the ball is in Pakistan's court, that the terror factories have to stop, that they need to stop this action. India was only retaliating. On the other hand, the conversation with Pakistan must have been very different, because it didn't stop at Ishaq Dar. The Secretary of State and National Security Advisor actually had to speak with Asim Munir. The decision, and I said this earlier also, Gaurav, and when Pooja was in the studio, I'm going to repeat this to you. There was a joke doing the round, but it's so real when it comes to Pakistan. The decision when Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said that he's given a free hand to Asim Munir to do what he wants to in order to retaliate for the Indian action. The jokes during the rounds was Asim Munir ordered Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to order Asim Munir to carry out a retaliation. So that's the position that you take. Asim Munir had to be convinced by the United States of America. The intervention happened there. The DGMO of Pakistan called India and informed that, yes, they've agreed to a ceasefire. India over here did not want a mediation. So, yes, I think the
Geeta,
Americans
give me a
also
moment. There's more
overplayed
breaking
their
news coming in. We're getting the first reaction
insane.
of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Dr. S. Jaishankar has said India and Pakistan have worked out an understanding. The understanding is on stopping of firing, is what India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said. And I want to cut across to India Today's Akshita Nandagopal for more on this. Akshita, bring us details.
Just 3 minutes. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar Gaurav, where he said, I'm just reading out his post, he says, India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so, making it very clear that a ceasefire doesn't translate at any point to us changing our stand on terror or on Pakistan sponsoring terror. And that particular second para, very important in his statement. The other aspect of what I'd like to also show you, Gaurav, at this point is a message that's come out from the government. This is from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting on Operation Sindoor updates and propaganda that's being put out on this. I'll just quickly read this out for you because this is extremely important too. The message reads, stoppage of firing and military action between India and Pakistan was worked out directly between the two countries. And here, this is the important bit right here, this point that I'd like to highlight. It says the Pakistan DGMO initiated the call this afternoon, after which discussions took place and understanding was reached. Let's also highlight the third point. No decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. This is a clear message that's coming from the government. Again, I'd like to highlight that the message is that the Pak DGMO, the Pak military officer, reached out to us. There was a conversation this afternoon and only one issue was discussed. No decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. This is the very important message also that we have to put the spotlight on here from the Indian government on the manner in which this ceasefire was made possible because of an outreach from Pakistan.
Okay, significant, very, very significant. So India is saying, one, there was no mediation. This was a call that came from the Pakistan DGMO to the Indian DGMO. It was at 15:35, that's 3:35 this afternoon, that the Pakistani DGMO called the Indian DGMO and said and proposed the ceasefire that comes into effect from 1700 hours, that's 5 p.m. today. But no conversation, Sandeep, on any other issue. So no resumption of dialogue with Pakistan. That's very clear.
It's very clear indeed, Gaurav. Very cryptic statement from the Foreign Secretary. A very terse statement on the fact that it was just going to be limited to a ceasefire and not about any other talks with Pakistan. So the government of India is very clear on its stance that talks and terror won't go hand in hand. But you know, the important thing to realize, Gaurav, is that when we were talking earlier about back channels between India and Pakistan, you know, General Asim Munir shut down the most important back channel with India when he appointed the DGISI, Asim Malik, Lieutenant General Asim Malik, as the National Security Advisor, which means he closed all avenues of a back channel. In the past, you had a civilian NSA who was actually running the back channel with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. But in this case, it was the military that took over even the back channel, leaving no room for doubt who the real boss in Pakistan was. That's General Asim Munir. Okay. And that is the reason that Foreign Secretary Marco Rubio had to call, Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to call Asim Munir, dial him to dial down the tensions. And
let me quickly bring into this conversation my colleague Shivani Sharma. And Shivani was and has been at the line of control, which was red hot till just some hours ago. Has that ceasefire already taken effect? Have instructions been passed down the chain of command? And we're told it's already in effect from 1700 hours, that's 5 p.m.
Gaurav, exactly. We are not hearing any kind of shelling now because till morning, early today, we were hearing that ceasefire violations, the artillery gunfires that were going along the line of control. But there is peace. But we must also bring in a point out here, the correlation between the policy change announcement by the government that any act of terror would be accounted as an act of war, and also the air bases that were destroyed by the Indian armed forces, the damage that was inflicted, after which Pakistan decided to talk to India. That mediation was there, and then this ceasefire was announced. So this is a clear indication that how and what was the impact of India's strikes on Pakistan, to which this truce has followed after a lot of deliberations. But the initial point was how India retaliated retaliated. The strong response from India and the ceasefire violations also that were going on, they were responded in a strong manner by India. And after which the DGMO called Indian side and the mediation of US and followed by the ceasefire has been announced now.
Okay, so the ceasefire is in place even as we speak. The Ministry of External Affairs, a statement has been made. I believe, Piyush, that the Ministry of Defense also has a word coming in, especially to give details of the conversation that took place, which was initiated by the Pakistani DGMO, because India had made it very clear. India had made that message conveyed. India had conveyed that message and made that point after Murid Ke and Bahawalpur and Sialkot and 9 locations all along the ALC and the IB were bombed, that terror was being punished. Pakistan chose to escalate. India just carried out more punitive strikes, demonstrative but not escalatory. India said it is for Pakistan to de-escalate. So the DGMO's call from Pakistan, is that being seen as Pakistan initiating de-escalation?
Well, Gaurav, if you go by the message which we have conveyed to the world, that at 3:35 today, it was Pakistan DGMO who initiated the talks with India, and ceasefire after then was announced, and after that both the countries agreed to have immediate and full ceasefire. Look at the message which we have sent, that we never wanted to have any kind of escalation. We wanted only to punish the terror which has been sponsored by Pakistan. That's why we only hit the 9 targets, and all successful targets were there. After that, it was Pakistan which was escalating, and Pakistan should have earlier taken actions against these terror camps, which it did not, and that is why we had to take actions. In their press conferences, Gaurav, we have seen how the government has been making it very clear that India does not want to escalate. We are only retaliating to the provocation which is being done by Pakistan. We also shot down all the drones, all the activities, those were being done by Pakistan, and we had to attack their airbase only because they were trying to attack our cities, they were trying to attack our military installations. So one thing is clear, that Pakistan had to come forward and request for ceasefire, immediate ceasefire, and that's what we have agreed. And one thing people should understand, that this, even as we have ceasefire in place, but in future, if there is any kind of terror activity carried out by Pakistan, then that will be considered as an act of war, and actions will be taken accordingly. That's what the government sources have told us. So this is clearly telling us as to how the message which we have sent not only to Pakistan but also to the entire globe. In few minutes from now, we are expecting Ministry of Defense also to do press conference, and then more details about the talks between Pakistan DGMO and Indian DGMO will come out.
Geeta, was India able to send across the message that India intended to, that we wanted to send across, that these were punitive strikes against Pakistan state-sponsored terror, Sandeep? And that message was conveyed, and it is Pakistan that finally reached out to the Indian DGMO. Sandeep.
Absolutely, Gaurav. That was literally a desperate Pakistan reaching out for a ceasefire, because when you saw the kind of destruction that India has rained down on Pakistan's air bases, including Sargodha, which you just described a little while ago, the runway had been cratered, one of Pakistan's most sensitive airfields had been targeted, the airfield rendered non-operational. I think after that, Pakistan panicked, they chickened, the DGMO made the call, and of course, the rest is history. This will go down in history, Gaurav, as one of the most important breakthroughs in India's war on Pakistan-sponsored state terror.
And I want our viewers to understand this. Yes, the United States intervened. Yes, the United States got both India and Pakistan to dial down the tensions, but India carried out the punitive strikes India had to against Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, not at 1, not at 2, not at 3, but at 9 different locations, including what was considered inconceivable, impossible, Murid Ke, Bahawalpur, Sialkot in Pakistan's Punjab province. Sandeep.
Absolutely, Gaurav. I mean, I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. My hair was jet black when we started talking about Bahawalpur and Murid Ke and all of those places 25 years back. My hair is grayed now, and I never thought I'd see the day when these terror kingpin headquarters would be attacked. And they were, seemingly sitting inside the safety of Pakistan's Punjab province, the heartland, which they believed, and of course the Pakistan military believed, that they would never be struck. They were safe over there, the northern Punjab and the southern Punjab, Muridke in the north, Bahawalpur in the south. And that is the big, big message from Operation Sindoor, that the government of India has conveyed its resolve. The politico-military signaling of Operation Sindoor, Gaurav, is going to be one of the biggest messages of India post-independence. We will study this for decades to come, From 1947 to 2025, this is one of the biggest tectonic shifts in India's military policy. The fact is that the government of India has resolved to use its military to punish terrorism and its state sponsors.
And each time, India's used our armed forces to punish Pakistan-sponsored radical Islamist terror. We've seen how India's response has been much, much higher in scale, size, and force, the fierce force that's been used. First, there were shallow surgical strikes in 2016 after Uri. Then, the then game-changer Balakot airstrikes, where fighter jets crossed the LC and bombed across the international border in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, but that was only one Jabba Top Jaishankar terror training camp, one of the biggest, but only one. This time after Pahalgam, Muridke was targeted. As Sandeep said, something that we'd only thought of as reporters who were covering Pakistan state-sponsored terror. We knew about Muridke, we knew about Hafiz Saeed, we knew how he led the Eid Namaz from the Gaddafi Stadium, we knew how he was a very well-respected person, but what we did not know, what we seriously did not know, was that he could be hit even in Muridke. What we did not know, that Jaish-e-Mohammed could be targeted at Bahawalpur. And that's exactly what has happened, Shivani. This is the fiercest response to Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror yet.
Gaurav, every time we used to hear Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Defence Minister, there used to be a very important message that the punishment will be unimaginable. And actually what happened during Operation Sindoor was unimaginable. Nobody would have thought that India will strike these terror outfits deep inside Pakistan with such precision. The measured strikes disturbing Pakistan also and destroying these terror outfits. 200, I stand corrected, 100 terrorists have been neutralized. That's what we got to know through the sources. And actually, this was a big blow to Pakistan, after which it got so uncomfortable that it brought those swarm drones India's way. Once again, they were thwarted with precision and the strong strike of India's strong armed forces with full synergy. So yes, this was unimaginable that happened. And this was also a very strong message for Pakistan.
It indeed was, and in just about a moment from now, I want you to see that room. This is where the Ministry of Defence will be holding. Okay, let's quickly cut across and listen in to Jammu Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah.
पहुंचाना शुरू करें, जहां-जहां लोग जख्मी हैं, उनका ठीक तरह से इलाज हो, उन्हें भी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम के तहत रिलीफ मिले, और जैसे आज सुबह ऐलान हुआ है, जहां-जहां कीमती जानें गई हैं, उन लोगों को हम वापस नहीं ला सकते, लेकिन कम से कम उनके गम में शरीक होके उन घरों को हम थोड़ा सा रिलीफ पहुंचाने का काम करेंगे।
उमर साहब, आज आप जम्मू में थे, यू हैड अ फर्स्ट हैंड स्टॉक ऑफ द सिचुएशन देयर, सो आफ्टर मार्च जो अब सीज फायर का है, व्हाट्स योर प्लान?
नुकसान बहुत हुआ है, नुकसान जम्मू शहर में हुआ है, लेकिन जम्मू शहर से बाहर अगर हम बात करें, पुंछ शहर को बहुत ज़्यादा जो है डेवेस्टेट किया हुआ है। कल रात को रजौरी में बहुत नुकसान हुआ, टंगधार पहले दिन से निशाना बना है। तो जैसे मैंने अभी कहा, डीसीज़ को वाज़िया हिदायत दी गई है कि वो फौरी तौर डैमेज का जो है फाइनल असेसमेंट करके वो असेसमेंट हम तक पहुंचाएं, ताकि हम इन घरों को रिलीफ जो है पहुंचाना शुरू करें। इसके साथ साथ कई दिनों से अब हवाई अड्डा हमारा बंद रहा है। उम्मीद करते हैं कि इस सीज़ फायर के बाद दोबारा हवाई अड्डा खुलेगा, और हमारे जो यहाँ से हाजी हज करने के लिए जिनको निकलना था हम भेज नहीं पाए। इंशाल्लाह जैसे ही हवाई अड्डा खुल जाता है तो हम दोबारा हमारे अपने हाजियों को यहाँ से रवाना करना शुरू कर देंगे। वो हमने जो कीमती जानें गई हैं वहाँ पे हमने थोड़ा सा कॉम्पनसेशन का ऐलान किया है, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ अब जहाँ लोग ज़ख्मी हुए हैं उन्हें भी हमें मुआवजा देना होगा, कॉम्पनसेशन देना होगा। और जैसे मैंने अभी कहा जहाँ जहाँ प्रॉपर्टी का नुकसान हुआ है वहाँ पे भी। ओके, थैंक यू।
So big statement from Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah, and he's the man who's on ground. Omar Abdullah, extremely brave in the line of fire. He's been traveling to some of the worst hit areas, and perhaps in Jammu, just moments after shelling, he would go to the house of those whose houses were impacted, visit those people, promise them whatever help he could. And in a situation like this, when the chief executive of the administration, when the chief minister of the state reaches out to you, comes to your house, visits you, puts his hand on your shoulder and says, I will do whatever I can to help. And I've got this from ground zero, from victims who said it was a gesture on his part that they value, and it wasn't just in Jammu. He's visited victims in various parts. He's told district collectors to reach out, whether it was in Tangdhar, one of the worst impacted areas, or in Punch, or in Rajouri. Went out, reached out to everybody. Big breaking news coming in after Operation Sindoor on the 2nd of May. Pakistan's National Security Advisor and the ISI Chief, Lieutenant General Asim Malik, was trying to reach out to India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, especially after the action of the last 3 days. Pakistan has been in the line of fire. Ceasefire has been on India's terms. That's very clear. The ceasefire is on India's terms, and we get you details how Pakistan sought ceasefire after multiple Pakistani air bases were devastated. And I want to bring in Shivani Sharma to give us more details on this. Shivani, bring us details.
See, what we are learning through the sources, Gaurav, that right after Operation Sindoor, Pakistan was disturbed and it tried to reach out to India by trying to speak to the NSA Ajit Doval, but the talks did not happen because of India's will. And not only Asim Munir, but the new chief of ISI, the new NSA, in fact, he also wanted to speak to NSA. They reached out to India, but India was not ready to talk because talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. And after which we have seen the escalations that came in from Pakistan, to which India responded, retaliated with full force. There was heavy damage that was inflicted to Pakistan's air bases across Pakistan, starting from Rawalpindi to other places. In Lahore also we had destroyed the air defense systems out there. So this heavy damage not only inside the Pakistan's air bases, but also line of control. We were reporting every day how India was retaliating with full force, especially yesterday when the swarm drone attack happened on India and it was thwarted. Pakistan had to have heavy damages, not only of the property, the air bases, the runways got cratered, but the personnel in Pakistan are being told to have heavy damages. Losses have been reported out there. So this was a big blow for Pakistan, in fact. And then it once again tried to reach out to India, to which after considerations, the ceasefire was announced after a certain...
So Pakistan finally conceded agree to a ceasefire. Okay, let's listen in to Ranadhir Jaiswal, spokesperson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this press briefing on Operation Sindoor and related developments. We have with us Commodore Ravi Nair, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to brief you. With that, I hand over the floor to Commodore Nair.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the Foreign Secretary had said, you're aware there's an understanding that has been reached to stop all military activities at sea, on the air and on the land, and the Indian Navy, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have been instructed to adhere to this understanding. Since the tragic events at Pahalgam, you're aware that our responses have been measured and very responsible. Details of these have been shared with you over the past few days through our various press briefings. What has also happened is that there is a significant amount of misinformation that is being undertaken from the other side. And as a professional military organization, we thought it is also our duty to dispel those misinformation aspects, as also state the facts of the case as they stand. Towards that, I will now hand over to my colleague, Colonel Qureshi.
नमस्कार। अब मैं आपको पाकिस्तान की मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के बारे में अवगत कराऊंगी। पहला, पाकिस्तान ने यह क्लेम किया कि उसने अपने JF-17 से हमारे S-400 व ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल बेस को नुकसान पहुंचाया, जो कि बिल्कुल गलत है। दूसरा, उसका ये भी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन था कि हमारी एयरफील्ड्स जो कि सिरसा, जम्मू, पठानकोट, बठिंडा, नलिया और भुज में हैं, ये उसका मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन भी बहुत गलत है। तीसरा, पाकिस्तान के मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के मुताबिक हमारे एम्यूनिशन डम्प्स जो चंडीगढ़ और बियास में हैं उसका डैमेज हुआ, यह भी बिल्कुल गलत है। हमने आपको मॉर्निंग ब्रीफिंग में बताया था विद फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर के साथ कि ये सारी चीज़ें बिल्कुल सही सलामत हैं। अब मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूँ कि पाकिस्तान के एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में ये बात की गई थी कि उनके सीनियर मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स जो कि पूरी तरह से ये भ्रामक हैं और तथ्यों से दूर हैं कि पाकिस्तान की ओर से ये झूठा आरोप भी लगाया जा रहा है कि भारतीय सेना ने मस्जिदों को नुकसान पहुंचाया। मैं इससे बिल्कुल स्पष्ट करना चाहती हूं कि इंडिया इज़ ए सेक्युलर नेशन और हमारी सेना भारत के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज़ की एक बहुत प्यारी झलक है। इंडियन आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान को बहुत भारी नुकसान पहुंचाया, उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स को, चाहे वो लैंड एसेट्स हों या फिर उनके एयर एसेट्स। यही नहीं, इंडियन आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान की एयरफील्ड्स स्कर्दू, जकोबाबाद, सरगोदा और बुलारी को बहुत नुकसान पहुंचाया। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान के एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम, रडार सिस्टम, उनको भी एयर स्पेस में अनटेनेबल किया। यह भी बताना चाहती हूँ कि लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पास पाकिस्तान के कमांड एंड कंट्रोल लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस और उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स, मिलिट्री पर्सनल्स का इतना भारी नुकसान हुआ कि पाकिस्तान की ऑफेंसिव व डिफेंसिव कैपेबिलिटी को नष्ट कर दिया गया। अंत में मैं फिर से ये बात दोहराना चाहूँगी, इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस पूरी तरह से तैयार है, सतर्क है और भारत की संप्रभुता और अखंडता की रक्षा के लिए पूरी तरह से कमिटेड है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
So several attempts were made by Pakistan on spreading a misinformation campaign, as we have seen for the last few days. There were attempts made to say that our S-400 at a northern base was destroyed, which was completely false, and that it was destroyed by a JF-17, it was a false information. Also that the BrahMos installation was attacked and it was destroyed was false. The destruction of airfields at Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Bhuj, Nalia, etc. was also a false claim. The forward ammunition dump at Chandigarh and Beas are also fit and fine, and we showed you these in the photographs in the morning briefing today. Also, there was a certain different way of miscampaign that the Pakistan conducted by its press conferences, which was conducted in a manner which were completely misleading and devoid of facts. Pakistan has been spreading fabricated allegations that the Indian armed forces have targeted mosques. Let us make this very clear here that India is a secular nation and the Indian armed forces are a reflection of our constitutional values. We hold every place of worship of all faiths in the highest regard. Our operations have been aimed exclusively at terrorist camps and facilities being used for anti-India activities. No religious sites, I repeat, no religious sites have been targeted by the Indian Armed Forces. Over the past few days, as we have seen, Pakistan has suffered very heavy and unsustainable losses after it has given us an unprovoked attack on our installations. It has suffered losses in both land and air. There has been an extensive damage to the crucial Pakistani air bases like Skardu, Sargodha, Jacobabad and Bholari. In addition, a loss of AD weapon system and radars made the defense of Pakistani airspace untenable. Across the line of control, extensive and precise damage to military infrastructure and command control centers and logistic installations. In addition to that, 2 military personnel had led to complete breakdown of its defensive and offensive capability and also Pakistani morale.
In conclusion, let me reiterate that whilst we will be adhering to the understanding that has been reached today, that is the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force, we remain fully prepared and ever vigilant and committed to defending the sovereignty and integrity of the motherland. Every misadventure by Pakistan has been met with strength, and every future escalation will invite a decisive response. We remain fully operationally ready to launch whatever operations may be required in defense of the nation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. With that, we come to the closure of this briefing. Thank you very much. Chali.
Big statement there being made by the Ministry of Defence. We heard Commodore Ravi Nair, Colonel Sofia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Bakshi and Vyomika Singh. The statement that was being made was no religious places were targeted. India is a secular country. India is a constitutional democracy. No religious structure was targeted. Only terrorist camps were targeted. But what a significant point that was made. Apart from that long list of airfields that we told you about that had been devastated, the Ministry of Defence said even airfields like Skardu. Skardu is in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Skardu is actually opposite Leh, Kargil area in Ladakh, which is part of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Skardu airfield was devastated. The Jacobabad is a very significant F-16 base. And remember, India Today told you first on 5 Live. India Today had that information that Pakistan's Jacobabad airfield had been destroyed. It's now been officially confirmed. India Today news break confirmed by the Ministry of Defence. Sargodha destroyed. Pakistan's command and control structure destroyed. Pakistan's radar stations destroyed. Pakistan's air defense systems destroyed. Massive loss to military personnel in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and also to terrorists in Pakistan. So very significant point. And I want to bring in India Today's Sahil Joshi, my colleague, who joins us for more on this big story. Sahil, this is India inflicting unaffordable costs to a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. Multiple airfields from Skardu to Chaklala to Bahawalpur and around completely decimated.
Well, it clearly looks like that before the ceasefire, agreeing for the ceasefire, India has made it very clear that any act of terrorism will not be taken lightly and it will be considered as act of war. And that's what India has made it very clearly. One more important thing that, when the India, we heard that there is going to be a press conference of External Affairs Ministry. It was very clear that there was some talks going on about ceasefire. And before that, India had to strike on Pakistan very hard, and that's what we heard a while back, that how they have destroyed their airfields, radar system, as well as the arms depot. Most of the loss has been inflicted on Pakistan at this point of time, and finally, then after that, when India could get its point through Pakistan that they will not accept to any kind of terrorist act, after that, the ceasefire has happened. It seems that now, because the DGMO have already spoken, and on 12th of May, they are going to have another meeting. So we'll have to wait and see that whether Pakistan actually is trustworthy of going for the ceasefire, and they really stop this cross-border terrorism. That is what is yet to be seen.
This is actually a massive, massive blow to Pakistan's war-fighting capabilities and massive costs being imposed on Pakistan's military terror infrastructure. So if we were to draw a list in the past several days since the Pahalgam terror strike by Pakistan, Pakistan has lost the Bahawalpur Terrorist Training Center. Pakistan has lost the Muridke Terrorist Training Center. Pakistan has launched the Sialkot Hizbul Mujahideen Center. Pakistan has lost at least 5 terror training camps, staging camps, and launch pads. But this is just the loss that the military jihad complex, as in the terror complex, has lost. Now let's come to the military losses.
I will add just one more point to
has suffered. Yeah, I just want to give me a moment. Yeah, go on, Sahil. Yes, completely.
No, I just wanted to add one more point.
Yes.
That, India has made it very clear to Pakistan that even if you are running a terror camp from your heartland, say Punjab,
yes,
you will not be spared. Because this is for the first time India is stuck inside Pakistan's heartland, that is Punjab, 100 kilometers inside the international border. And that is, I think, is going to be a very important and clear message.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to bring in India Today's Akshita Nandagopal, who joins us for more on this story. Noor Khan Air Base, Murid Air Base, Rafiki Air Base, Rahim Yar Khan Air Base, Skardu Air Base, Jacobabad Air Base. This is devastation of Pakistan's war-fighting capabilities, and especially their air power, Akshita.
Very true, Gaurav. There's a reason that you had the first outreach by Pakistan for a ceasefire because of the impact of Operation Sindoor. And we'll just run you through what makes this operation so historic. It's India's most significant military action within Pakistani territory in over 50 years. What we've seen in the last 3 days has been unprecedented, and we went deep into Pakistan. We're talking about several locations, and this is what we mean by that. You had Rawalpindi, Karachi, Lahore all being hit, and the fact that we hit the army headquarters of Pakistan, the fact that we didn't do just one strike there, but 2-3 strikes in Rawalpindi itself tells you why Pakistan wanted this ceasefire. It's also the first time we've seen a joint operation. The army was involved, the IAF was involved, Navy was involved with going ahead and carrying out naval exercises in the Arabian Sea as well. So since the 1971 war, over 50 years, this is the first time that you had this kind of synergy between our forces in taking on Pakistan. Coordinated strikes on Pakistan with one clear message, with one clear attempt to wipe out terror from Pakistan. So we targeted JAM, we targeted Lashkar, we targeted Hizbul. Precision strikes executed inside a nuke-armed enemy nation for the first time. We ensured that we hit every target we wanted. Pakistan attempted to counter. We know how that went, completely unsuccessful. The fact that we managed to pull it off, of targeting exactly who we wanted without any other casualty. First offensive where multiple high-value targets were hit simultaneously. And we've been reporting, you Gaurav, have been reporting about how several of these high-value terror targets have also been eliminated as India wanted. Long-range precision weapons, the Scalp missile was used in the first phase of Operation Sindoor. The Hammer smart bombs were deployed, again used in the first phase of Operation Sindoor to target those terror camps. And we did it with utmost precision. Loitering munitions, essentially kamikaze drones that India had used, were also used to hit terror infrastructure. And those videos also was put out by our forces as evidence that we hit terror camps and nothing more in Pakistan. India struck deep into Pakistan, Punjab for the first time since 1971, and this is hugely significant that we went right in, we struck targets and ensured successful precision strikes well deep into Pakistan, so much so that we reached also Pakistan, Punjab. Now it was strategic locations, Muridke, Bahawalpur, Sialkot, unheard of, unprecedented that there's ever been a strike in places like Muridke and Bahawalpur, because these are core terror areas. Bahawalpur, JAM headquarters. We know, of course, that Muridke is an LET headquarters. Never have we seen strikes there. And this time, India hit out as part of Operation Sindoor. Scope of cross-border operations also escalated. And that's something we saw on the ground in the last 3 days. Shift from infra-focused strikes to terror leadership decapitation. This wasn't just about precision strikes or what particular infrastructure. It was about eliminating the very root of terror, hitting JAM and LET where it hurts the most and ensure that they're completely crippled, can never rise back to the kind of influence or clout that they enjoyed right up till now. Shift from infra-focused strikes, therefore, to terror leadership decapitation. And that's exactly what Operation Sindoor was all about. Hitting terror camps in Pakistan and ensuring that terrorists no longer think that they can enter into India, carry out terror strikes and think that they're completely safe inside Pakistan. So the message, ceasefire called, yes, but the message, Gaurav, that we wanted to send across to these terrorists, to Pakistan, has been sent across with Operation Sindoor.
Oh, absolutely. This is perhaps the harshest punishment yet given to Pakistan's military terror network. And look at the manner in which Pakistan was punished. Look at the manner in which costs have been imposed on Pakistan. Yes, there is a ceasefire, but a ceasefire that Pakistan was compelled to seek after Pakistan lost. I mean, Skardu is right on top in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the area that Pakistan calls its northern areas. Skardu was bombed. Pakistan cannot use that airfield till the time it's restored. Come down from Skardu and take a look at Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi is Pakistan's seat of power, and as Akshita was pointing out, multiple times Rawalpindi was targeted, including the Noor Khan airbase, the Murid airbase at Chakwal, the Rafiq airbase, the Rahim Yar Khan airbase, the Sargodha airbase, the Jacobabad airbase. They were all just devastated, and this is a very important signal that goes out to Pakistan. Their air defense system was devastated. Their radars, their missile defense shield, their MQ-9Bs, their HQ-9Bs, their the HQ-16s, and there's more breaking news that we will get you in just a moment from now. Sources are actually telling India today that Pakistan was desperately trying to spread a communal narrative, and that's failed. More Operation Sindoor details coming in. The ceasefire, sources are telling India today, is not unconditional. It does not change any decision taken by India recently about the Indus Waters Treaty being held in abeyance. Also, it does not change India's zero tolerance policy for Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. I want to bring in India Today's Shivani Sharma for more on this. Shivani, India is in a position to impose costs on Pakistan, and it did. I want to bring in Piyush for more on this. So Piyush, not only is the ceasefire not unconditional, it is conditional to Pakistan maintaining peace, point 1, and point 2. It does not change details on the Indus Waters Treaty, and that's so significant.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. The diplomatic sanctions and the decisions those were taken by India soon after the Pelgam terror attack, all the decisions remain in place. 6 big decisions were taken, which includes closing down the border, cancelling the visa, asking all Pakistani citizens to leave country, putting Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. All these decisions will remain in place, and there was no pre or post condition of having announcing a ceasefire, and it happened only after the request which was made by the Pakistani DGMO, and a call was made today in the afternoon, and after that itself India agreed to that. The message is clear that we never wanted escalation to happen. We always wanted Pakistan to stop funding terrorist activities, to stop escalating when we were also taking actions against the terror camps, but Pakistan did not listen to that.
Okay.
Pakistan
Sahil,
continued to provoke India. Pakistan continued to send drones and also tried to to attack our military installations, and after that itself, the exercise was carried out. Now, what is very clear that all the diplomatic actions those were taken by Pakistan, those will remain in place, and there will be no other talks except the DGMO level talk, which is now will take place on 12th May at 12.
Well, does that mean that the ceasefire the Indus Waters Treaty is not included in this ceasefire, because that was the first step India took after the Pahalgam attack? Should we consider that, Piyush?
Well, one thing is clear that the diplomatic actions, those were taken against Pakistan. All these things remain in place. Only one decision has been taken, and that also after that request which was made by Pakistan, that immediate and complete ceasefire is announced on the borders, and that has also been announced by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our officials from Ministry of Defence. So the actions, be it about Indus Waters Treaty or
Shivani
the
is joining us
diplomatic
with a
actions,
couple of
those were
additional
taken,
points.
all
Sahil,
will remain in place until.
Stay with us, Piyush. Shivani joins us. Shivani, you're breaking news. You're getting us details of the Indus Waters Treaty, and that's off bounds. Pakistan has to come to the negotiations table, fulfill conditions. It has to be renegotiated to India's liking. Shivani, bring us details.
Gaurav, as far as the Indus Water Treaty has been concerned, we have heard Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in this regard that it's been for years when India has wanting to reconsider and make some developments around these projects, but Pakistan was not responding and cooperating. Now, after the Pahalgam attack, there were certain points that were brought out, decisions, the hard decisions that were brought out regarding the Indus Water Treaty. But again, when the ceasefire has been announced, Gaurav, there are certain conditions that India has brought ahead for the Indus Water Treaty, that Pakistan has to put it according to India. The development procedures have to be there. Only then there will be a reconsideration. As of now, there is no rolling back of this particular treaty that was put in.
Well, Shivani, I have one question for you. Because the kinetic action started after 7th of May. But before that, India did diplomatic strike, as well as India also had the trade strike, economic strike. They stopped the trade with Pakistan. So this ceasefire which has been declared, it is only and only with respect to a kind of kinetic strike which India had done, and then there was a reaction from Pakistan only with respect to that. But rest of the action taken by India are still going to continue, like stopping trade with Pakistan or Indus Water Treaty being put in abeyance.
Sahil, that's what we can perceive, that whatever was decided after Pahalgam attack in the CCS meeting and the declarations that came thereafter, that was a strong diplomatic hit against Pakistan. But here, when the ceasefire has been re-announced, there is no announcements about the rolling back of those decisions. So we perceive, and we will seek more clarity from the government. It seems that there is no rolling back of those harsh diplomatic decisions, because Pahalgam attack was an escalation itself from Pakistan. That's what the Foreign Secretary had been saying. And those decisions were a response of India after the Pahalgam attack. And then the terror outfits were destroyed. So as of now, what we perceive and we understand from the briefing that has come in, that the ceasefire only stands for the military action. There will be no military action by both the sides on land, air and seas. But we have to wait for more decisions to come in, but it seems that the decisions that had been taken by the CCS remain at place.
So it really actually depends, Sahil, on whether Pakistan behaves, and clearly India will now renegotiate the Indus Waters Treaty, to the best of my knowledge, on India's terms. I'm sure there will be no World Bank
and we also have
conditional.
to remember that the 4 terrorists which actually attacked on the tourists at Pahalgam are still not yet been caught, and there is no information with respect to that yet. NIA has already started the investigation.
Oh, absolutely. Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu joins us for more on this big story. Kamal, you're on the line of control, and you've been through a very difficult phase in the past couple of days. What more are you picking up? 1, on the situation on ground, reactions from people, and 2, your internal security grid sources, what are they telling you?
Well, there's a huge sigh of relief, at least for the people, and several of them had actually left Rajouri because they were anticipating that in times to come there could be much more heavy shelling. Now, the range was increased by Pakistan, and that is why we saw, whether it's the schools or whether it's the Dangri village, a lot of other civilian areas which were damaged by shelling by Pakistan. Also, what is under consideration is the strategization, and this is where what we know is there was security preparedness. And remember, even if there is a ceasefire, remember the preparation continues to be in place. This is also goes to show the sort of preparedness, because this time around it wasn't a simple war, it was a drone war. This was a use of missiles. So in every possible way, the mechanisms and the military strength of India was tested. But remember, as far as India is, they take away much more at home, because one, there was strikes at the terror camps, the launch pads, killing of major terrorists. So all those actions have been done. But remember, there's also still a Fidayeen alert. And this is what it really means, because remember, the targets were Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed. And even if India and Pakistan actually are on ceasefire, remember, these terrorists still loom large. And this is what Sahil was also pointing out. Can the Pakistani army rein them in? There are around 140 of them in Jammu and Kashmir at this point of time. What is there? Because remember, as far as these terror organizations are concerned, they've always had a say, and they are not reined in for too long. So that is also going to be one of those factors which will be seen in. And as Sahil was also pointing out, the perpetrators of Pahalgam are still at large. So security forces are yet to get them. But eventually it is going to be important as to how this really progresses. The other part is about the NIA investigation. And remember, that is going to be a painstaking process. It's already so much work being done, but remember, joining the dots, getting not just the perpetrators, but the links to Pakistan and exposing them continues to be where it is. And this is where a multi-strong pronged strategy is already in place. But in the times to come, we have to see long-term strategy of Pakistan, because they may just go back and kill ones and twos and eventually start increasing the number, because we've seen it in 2016, in 2019, 2025 now.
Very, very pertinent point. Mir Farid also joins us from Srinagar on this special broadcast. Sahil stays with me. Mir, a sigh of relief, a sense of relief. There was fear and apprehension in Kashmir earlier this morning, but now within 12 hours there's a ceasefire in place, Sahil. Mir.
Yes, Gaurav. In fact, people of Jammu and Kashmir were in fret and fear. Obviously, they know that this will also be played out in battlefield Jammu and Kashmir, and exactly that is what was happening. Now, border residents, as we have been saying, are always the first sufferers, the casualty. They have suffered immensely. So many people have been killed, their livestock gone, their houses, their lives have been devastated in many ways. So they obviously, it will take a long time for them to return, or normalcy to return to their lives. But at least right now they're happy. We're getting reactions from Gurez areas which were silent for years now, but suddenly ceasefire violations had started there. So they are happy with this step of the government of India, saying that this is good sense that has prevailed, because ultimately war is not something that will that really leads to any solution. So that is the
war
sense.
doesn't lead to a solution. Terror doesn't lead to a solution. If there is no terror, there will be no war. That's the message that India has been trying to send across to Pakistan to stop terror. Big story. There's a key security meeting that's happening in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 7 Lok Kalyan Marg residence. You have Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan, the Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi, the Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh Tripathi, and you have the Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, who's on that in that meeting.